Hello again, and welcome back to OCD Coded. Today we are going to talk about OCD and shadow work, which is a really hard thing for everybody, but especially for OCD. Um, so shadow work is talked about first with Carl Jung, and it's such an inspiration with all the archetypes and different things. And shadow work is about learning how to kind of identify your shadow side. So if we think of the side of you that you show to the world and the side of you that you like and that you want to be, and so many of these things is that kind of, you know, that forward facing part of you. And the shadow is kind of the opposite of all of those. And what we're coming to learn is that we need both of these parts. We can't get rid of the parts we don't like. We can't just exile them from us and pretend they're not there. If we, exile them to the shadow, then they tend to control us. And Carl Jung has a great quote about it. I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's something like, our if we don't identify our shadow, it'll control us and we will call it fate. Um, I'll have to go back and put that in the notes about what the real quote is with that, but it's that idea that whatever we try to put in the shadow or whatever parts of us we try to deny, what parts we try to deny are part of us, end up controlling us more. And so for shadow work, what that means is learning to love the parts of you that you don't like, the parts of you that, you know, um, maybe remind you of somebody else that you don't like, and being able to um, make friends with that part first, or, just then the first step is just acceptance. Can we accept that that part is part of us? But with OCD, the that cycle of doubt of, is this part of me? Is it not? Is this a good part of me? Is it not? Should I get rid of it? Should I not? And how just the back and forth is, so um, relentless, and it's just exhausting. And it ends up, people with OCD do the calculations to try to figure out, to get some certainty about what that might be. And so with shadow work, one of the things to help is to be able to walk toward our fears, instead of trying to stare at them or try to ignore them. Like, how can we walk toward them? And with shadow work, it is about, that really being able to see that there are no parts of us that are bad, um, that we can, and that can be a really hard concept for a lot of people, and especially with OCD. And it's that, another great quote that I'm probably going to get wrong. I believe it was Carl Rogers who had said, I must accept myself as I am before I can change. And I think that I resisted that for a long time, of thinking, how can that be true? I have to change myself before I can accept who I am. And that learning more and more that that's such an OCD thought of, first I have to be perfect and then I can be accepted, instead of thinking, or first I have to change before I can be accepted, instead of it being that, like, if I accept myself as I am first, if I allow myself to just be first, then all these other things become easier. But it just feels so untrue. And OCD is so strong with being like, no, you're not. You can't do that. You're terrible. At least that's how it sounds in my head sometimes. And I encourage you to think about how, like, what parts of you might be trying to ignore or deny or exile, what parts of you don't like, and how we can start to look at those a little more gently and learn how, first to accept that those are parts of us, and how to begin this shadow work of, can I, go internal first and work on these things. And it's a great time of year to be working on this. And that idea, I have to work on myself first, that I cannot change the events or other people around me, that I have to work on myself. And I find that shadow work is so helpful for that, but then also so difficult for OCD, because of the shame and the blame and feeling like a bad person, and not, and finding it hard to even verbalize or, even think internally those kind of things because it feels so scary about what if it's true. And so I like to give the short answer of, um, you know, everyone is afraid to look into their shadow. But that is where our greatest strengths lie and where our wholeness becomes when we accept all the parts of ourself and allow to be able to better choose when to use the different parts, like when to bring them to the forefront and then how to navigate all of that with OCD. So I think that is a good start for that. I'm excited to talk more about OCD and shadow work and would love to hear any questions or thoughts. So please let me know. Have a great rest of your day.